Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here, and welcome to my virtual studio in Vermillion. As you can see beside me, we're going to be painting this peaceful boat scene at sunset. Throughout the tutorial, I teach you a little bit about sunset colors and blending those out, reflections as well, and things that pertain to the Vermillion app. We'll talk about the projector and the ruler and a few other little things as well. If you haven't seen Vermillion yet, this is the first time you're hearing of it, I encourage you to go check it out. If you already have a VR headset, then you can just purchase it and download it. If you don't have a VR headset and you decide to purchase an Oculus, that's what I'm using for this, an Oculus Quest 2. If you use my referral code below when you start your account, then you will get $30 to spend in their store, and that will more than pay for the Vermillion app for you. So technically the Vermillion app could be free for you. I'm really excited for this one, so let's jump into it. Alright, so here we are in the studio. If you're new to Vermillion, I'll try to remember to go through a few just the basic step-by-step things so you can figure out just some of the things about Vermillion itself. Other than that, I will be going through the step-by-step of the painting. So when you first get in here, you can change the size of your painting by grabbing that top right corner. We're going to be doing a 24 by 18, but in the future, you can grab it and do whatever size you want. The orange lines around are kind of some of your standard sizes. And so once you've chosen your size, just hold your hand in the middle and it'll give you your nice white canvas there. I already have up here the reference photo that we're using, but if you are wanting to bring it up on your own, on the YouTube video below, you'll find the link to it. You can click on that. We're going to be using it just for some color references. I'll leave it up there so you can watch it as we're painting right on the video. And I'm going to do a little bit of an overlay with this little projector here. You can see that it overlays onto our canvas, and we'll be using that in a little bit as well. So you can bring this up here. I have a bookmarked here with the star, so when I go to my bookmarks, you can see it there at the top. I can click on it and it's right there. It's from Pixabay. It's a free to create an account there, and then I just have it saved on Pixabay so it's easy to bring up, because when you search for it, there's a lot of pictures with boats at sunsets in the water, and so it's a little bit hard to find this particular one just with a search. Unlike our Fox one, that one was really easy. So follow the link first, maybe on your device, your computer or your phone or something. Save it to your account, or just click on the link in the description below and it'll bring it up here for you. Alright, so aside from that, when I do paintings, I like to start with the background first, work my way to the foreground, then it makes all of the layering nice. There's smooth transitions between the background, the midground, and the foreground, and all that. So with this one, we're going to start with our background and go from there. So I'm just going to start with our 2-inch brush, and I'm going to take our palette here so you can see anything that I do right now. And I'm just going to start with some white paint. I know there's no real white in this one. And we want to go down to about where that actual horizon line is. If you go a little bit below, it's not a big deal. And I'm just putting some of that down, some of that white. Nothing too crazy. And from there, we're going to take some of this kind of yellow ochre down here, and mix that up here. In between putting colors on your brush, make sure you hit A to clean it off a little bit so you don't just end up losing it all there. And with this color, I'm just going to add it in here. And you can be pretty generous, and it doesn't need to be perfect at all either. This is nature. This is the sky. It's not really uniform. That's all I'm going to do for there. We can come back and add touch-ups to it later. I'm going to take a little bit of this red and mix it in here. Take a little bit more. And again, we're just going to do that same thing here. Mix it down and around. Take a little bit more red. And do that same thing again, moving ourselves up, bringing it down. Now I'm going to take a little bit of this darker blue that you see at the top, mix some of that down in there. And again, do that exact same thing. And now just almost that straight blue, and add a little bit up in this corner until it covers all of your white. Alright, so if you want to with this brush, you can go through and start doing a little bit of blending, but if you want, you can grab the blender brush down here, and we're just going to start moving the paint around here. So I do a little bit of up and down movements, but then I want my finishing to be more horizontal. You can do it either way, really. It's the sky. The sky sometimes has different types of movement in it. But all this is doing, this is just softening up those transitions, softening up any harsh lines, any textures that are up in there. And it's creating a nice smooth sky. So I'm going to bring some of that pink up and down, kind of transfer some in between. Do some vertical, do some horizontal and diagonals. And for me, I'm going to do some nice horizontals to kind of brush them out. And this blender brush really just pushes that paint. It's awesome. If you want it to go really in one direction, just do brush strokes just in that direction. And for mine here, I've got a little bit too much white, I feel like, down there. So I'm going to grab my 2-inch brush again. Just take a little bit more of this color here. Take a little bit of pink in throughout. Just add a little bit. Remember, you can always hit the undo button if you need. Take a little bit of gold up in there. And then again, just take that blender brush and move things around. And it's going to create a nice, beautiful sunset sky for you. I just felt like I needed a bit more lighter colors in there, get rid of some of that white. So I want my horizon line to be down here, right on the water. Alright, once you've got that in, just take a step back and see if you need to fix any spots. See if you like where things are. I feel like I just need to mix that out a little bit more. Alright, once you've got that in, our next step, if you want to grab that 2-inch brush, we're going to do that same kind of idea, but now here with the water. So again, my lightest parts are going to be coming kind of through the middle. So I just added some white right there in the middle. I'm going to grab that next color in. Just work it around. over into here a little bit. So it's important that you keep your colors on the palette that we had, because you don't want to have to remix any of them. That's never very fun. Okay, I'm going to grab that blender brush. Just add paint in as where you feel like you need it. Just kind of do what we did before with the sky and brush that into each other. And here with the water, you really want to have those brush strokes be nice and horizontal in the end. And you can already see that that's giving a nice kind of ripple effect. And again, once you feel like you've got that, you can take a step back again, check it out, and see if you need to adjust anything. We are going to be adding some other textures on top of the water in a little bit, but not quite yet. Our next step that we want to do is we're going to add like a little peninsula inlet here on the left side. So to do that, I'm going to take our palette knife. I'm just going to take some of this blue here and set it to the side. And take some black, mix that together. And wherever that horizon line is, I'm just going to go and draw this out. Go back in. Again, hit that undo button if you need. Once you got a bottom layer of the dark done, this is just the background of that peninsula. Just going to go after and take some of that blue, add it in there as well. And remember, you can always press B and that'll stabilize things for you. If you're anything like me, I've got pretty shaky hands. And we want there to be some nice texture on this. That's going to really help it stand out and show that it's not part of the reflection. So to create that kind of texture, just take your palette knife and just turn it at an angle and brush it at the angle that you want it to go. But if you turn it on its side, then it gives you some nice texture. Just going to lighten things up again one more time here. You can go as far as adding almost a little bit of white to it as well, and it'll blend in. Alright, once you've got that where you want it, it's going to take this smooth short flat. And with that, I'm going to take some of this darker navy blue and just kind of brush it in below the peninsula. And if you find that it's mixing too much with the water below, you can always go to your settings, turn down that canvas mixability, and now you'll see when we go into spread this, you'll notice that it's doing a lot better. It's not mixing with those lighter colors below. And this is going to be the reflection part of the peninsula. I'm going to take some of those lighter colors that we had in there. Just kind of add those in. And just take our blender brush here. I'm kind of shrinking it down a little bit. Use the right trigger there and you can see it's a lot skinnier. I'm just going to run this blender brush through this line that we made here. Here's a close-up of the finished plateau. I've added a bit later in this tutorial that you'll see, but I wanted to show you this right now so you can check it out. And we'll come back and make adjustments to it when we do the rest of the reflections on the water. Alright, so we got our base set up here. Now we need to do something with our boats. So with our boats, this is where I'm going to turn on the projector mode here. And you can see that brought up here. I'm going to increase the size and move it around by grabbing in the middle until I have it where I want the boats to be. So you don't have to put them in the same spot as me. I'm going to move them down kind of into this area here. You can adjust that size with that top right corner. So I think I'm going to put them right there. You can use the overlay or the multiply. I'm going to use the multiply from here on. And before I do that, I noticed there's a little spot I want to adjust in the reflection here, the peninsula. So I'm just going to quickly do that. Again, if there's ever anything you want to touch up or see, just do it. Just pause it and do it. So in order to get the nice fine mast lines for the sail, I'm going to take the rigger brush and I'm just going to use that darker navy blue that we used for the peninsula. And if you haven't ever used the ruler, if you hold B, you'll see a line that shows up. And you can place it wherever you like, and it'll help you paint a straight line. However, you can't change the angle of the brush once you set the ruler down. So if I set the ruler, so if I have my brush like this and I set my ruler there, notice that as soon as I go to paint, my brush goes back to that angle, even though my hand is at a different angle. So we want our brush to be straight up and down at a slight angle of the mast, so that now when we release the ruler and set that into position, it stays nice and straight at the angle that we want it to be. And notice I still have that canvas mixability turned off, so this is going to give us that nice bold color that we want. We don't really want this to mix in with the background. Then if you want to change that line, just press P to turn it off. I'm going to get a little bit more fresh paint there. Again, if I'm doing this back rope here, I'm turning my brush so it is at that angle. So put it right there. Okay, and then there's another one. Right at the very back. There, and there I grabbed some lighter blue just to kind of see what that would do, and that's okay. There's one going across right here, and another one going up. Right there. Okay, I'm going to take some of that darker, and we're going to do the exact same thing on this side with this boat here. And this middle one here, this one's a thicker one, so I'm going to do 2 layers on that. And same with this side one here, it's a thicker one. Okay. For the back one, I'm just taking a little bit of a lighter color, a lighter blue again. On this side here, I've got one other one I just want to add right here. Okay, once you feel like you've got enough of the mask put in, I didn't put in all those lines, there's quite a few little lines in there. I just put enough in that it looks fine how I got it. You're just going to take that rigger brush and take some of that darker blue, and I want you to just go through, and we're simply just going to outline the boat. So I still have my canvas mixability down. I still have that stability on, as you can see. Okay, we're going to do the same with this one over here. All right, once you have those lines in, if you want to, you can turn off the projector there. And I'm going to use the palette knife a bit here. To start, I'm just going to be taking this darker blue that we had mixed in there and just going to lay some down throughout. Remember, if you ever want to change the grip to make things easier, you can do that with the trigger with your middle finger on your right hand if you're right-handed doing this. And that same thing just with the hull of this one too. Okay. I'm going to take our yeah, why not? We'll do the bristle fan brush. Just a bristle brush is what I want here. And gonna go in with these lighter blues that we have here. And just kind of add some texture throughout. And if you're at the point where you feel like you can't get the details you want, you can always just increase the size of that canvas and then work on the boats from there, right? Then I'm going to go even lighter. And I'm actually going to take some of this lighter blue here and mix that in with what we've got and just add some of that into our boat here as well. And again, I still have that canvas mixability down, which is fine. Things slowly start mixing together even with it off. I am going to turn that back on. And I'm going to take a little bit of white, mix it in with this light blue that we have here. Sorry, you can see this here. And just add some really light highlights in here. Notice that these sides of the boat that we're working on right now, they're not in the sun, so they don't need to be really bright. We're just simply adding texture to them. Alright, now I'm going to take our smooth short flat. I'm going to turn down that mixability for the moment. And this part of the boat here is still very dark. Looks like they kind of got one of those like tarps over top there, blocking out that light. Maybe staying light late, and they want it to be dark so they can go to sleep. And it's also pretty dark up on the top there on the side. Same thing with this boat over here. Fill that in with some nice dark navy blue that we had going on. I hope you're enjoying this one so far. This has been fun for me to do. If you have any suggestions of things you want to see in the future, please let me know in the comments. And then underneath, just going to add a little bit of a lighter shade of this. And just fill this in here. Sorry, I did a little too much there, too close to the mast. Okay, and same thing on this other side. And then at the front of this boat, it is actually in the sun. So I'm going to be adding pretty much pure white to the front because it's going to mix with things around it. Maybe a little bit of this lighter blue. Just dab a little bit of that in there, not too much. To show that that's in the sunlight. And same with the front of this boat here. The very front you can see is in the sun from the reference image there. And then in behind it'll be a little bit darker, but not as dark as the other side that we did. Alright, set that down for a minute. I'm going to turn that mixability back up. And with the palette knife, I'm going to take some of this medium blue and just go in and add bits of that onto the darker kind of tarpy area that we have there. Same with that one over there too. And remember, the more of an angle that you do with the palette knife, the more texture you're going to get to it. When you turn it flat on it, then it just lays, you get a texture, but it lays a lot of paint down. You can't see underneath of it. And we want the boat part to be really textured because that's going to stand out nice compared to the reflections that we're doing on the water. So I'm just going to take a little bit of white on that now. And do that to the front here. Again, you can always press B if you need to. I'm a shaky person, so I use it. And take some of this lighter gray blue and add some in here. Same with this side over here. Because we're not looking for high detail, we're just looking for some texture. Just to kind of change things up a little bit. And once you've got that done, if you want to shrink it back down, if you haven't already, you can do that and take a step back. See if you can see anything that you need to adjust on the boats. I'm going to leave it as is for now. Here's a close-up of the boats. I know it's finished with the reflections underneath, but you can see the textures and detail in the boat for you to check out and make any adjustments you need. I'm going to increase that size a little bit again. Just to there so you can still see the whole thing in the frame. Now we're going to go in and add some of our reflections. So for that, I'm going to take our bristle fan brush. I want to make it so the angle of the brush is nice and horizontal. You can change your grip if you need to. I'm going to take some of the colors that I've been working with and just put it on the tray in front of me. Organize them a little bit. You can always use that tray as you're working throughout. And then that'll prevent any unwanted mixing. Then I don't have to worry about picking up the palette or turning it, just everything's right in front of me there. Thought I'd show you a quick screenshot of this. Okay, that should be good. So I'm going to take the darkest first. And with that darkest, I'm just going to do some horizontal brush strokes right beneath of the boat, even extending a little bit past where the boat really is. And same with on the other one too. And if you notice it start to getting blended in too much and the color isn't as dark as you want it, put a little bit more on your brush. And do the same with that blue. And again, if you find that you're not getting enough blue in there, just turn down that mixability again. And then you can go and add some blue. And that should do it for you. You can add some of the darker where you want it as well right now. And take some of that lighter.
and put that around as well. And when it gets to the point that your color's almost the same as the water, I want you to just kind of extend those horizontal ripple lines out just a little bit further. That's going to give us some nice water line texture transferring between the reflection and the actual just plain water. And I'm just brushing very, very lightly, not much pressure. I don't feel it much on the controller. Just a little vibration that you can feel. I've picked up a little bit of the darker orange, and then just kind of continuing to do some nice little light horizontal lines throughout. And that's just adding in some nice little waves kind of happening. Just slight movement on the water. I'm going to use that again in just a minute, but before that I'm going to take the rigger brush, take some of that medium blue that we have, and use the ruler to line it up with the mast, and do a very, very light little reflection layer there. You can also take some of the lighter, kind of almost gray blue, and actually I'm doing those two angles wrong there. The reflection is going to be at the opposite angle of what I was doing. Sorry about that. And same with this side, I'm going to do that same thing. A little too far over on that one. And with the fan brush, how we had it before, just going to go over those lines that we just made a little bit, just lightly. And that's going to kind of just push those out a little horizontally, add that water effect in there. Same with the other side too. And if you want to try, you can take the blender brush, and I'm just going to shrink it to the smallest size, and just go really light over top of those. I'm taking away the texture and just kind of blurring them out a little bit.
And with this brush, I'm just going to go through and just lightly blur out all of these ripple lines that we've just added in. Not going to blend them all the way out like we did with the sky and the bottom of the rest of the lake or sea or whatever you want it to be. but just so there's a distinction between the boat and the water, right? If there's any parts that you want to blend out though, like those, if you find some of your ends are too sharp, you can always go in and blend those out a bit more, right? Okay, I'm going to leave those for just a minute. We might come back to them, but before I go any further, I'm going to take this smooth flat again, and I just want to add some of this blue into our reflection up here with this peninsula, because I feel like it's too dark. And I'm going to go in and just blend this out into here as well. Excuse me. And I'm going to take some of this blue and just dab it into the mountainside here, because I just find it to be too gray. I want some nice blue with it too here. Okay, so from here, I'm just going to take a step back here and take a look at it. Alright, I feel like I need a bit more of this blue in this reflection here. Okay, just going to go and blend that out a little bit. Same with this side, the little bit that I added. And now with this fan brush, just to make that horizon line a bit more clear, I'm going to take some of this lighter here. I'm just going to try something quick, see if I like it or not. A little too much red in there, I think. Let's take that fan brush again. Just mix some of that out. Just taking some white here. Oh, went a little bit too far and hit the boat there. We don't want to hit the boat. Alright, I did too much. Just touch up a few of these lines here. If you want to add any lines throughout the water here, Now is the time to do that, just to add a little bit more to it. Sorry, I'm just not quite content with what's going on right here. I think my problem is the water line should be about right there. There we go, that's a bit better. That goes along here with that side.
So I thought it would be good here to give you a nice close-up of everything in the painting. Here I'll go right into the boats, to the reflections, to the plateau and everything. And you can see any of the fine details that we did. If there's anything that you feel like you need to adjust because of this, then you can do that as well. Again, if you have any questions, make sure you put those in the comments below. I try to respond as quickly as possible.
Alright, so I'm going to shrink this down to its normal size, take a step back. I feel like we got it. If there's anything you want to adjust with the reflections, just keep on, tinkering away at that, or even with the sky, if there's anything you want to adjust, anything with the boats. You got all your colors there you can continue to work with. Just make sure you clean off your brush every time so you don't accidentally taint one of your colors. And yeah, I think we got it here. This is awesome. I had a really fun time doing this one. We'll head to the outro. So thank you for painting this one with me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something new that you can take on to your next painting. If you haven't checked out my other tutorials, I'll link below the playlist where you can find them all in one spot, or you can just head back to my channel and you'll see the playlist there as well. If you have any suggestions of things you'd like to see in the future, different tutorials that you'd want me to do, just leave a comment below or send me a message, and I'm more than happy to check out those suggestions. So thank you for joining me. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss future videos, and we'll see you next time on Brian's Lone Artist.